You might also be aware that the MHS Charity Program held their pageant on Sunday, February 4th. If you didn't have the chance to attend, the event was amazing, quite seamless, if I do say so myself, and that's not just because I was the MC. Thank you. Thank you. Also in charity program news, on February 23rd in Marshfield's West Gym from 7 to 9:30, the MHS Charity Program will be hosting a Sadie Hawkins dance. The event is open to all Marshfield students. They will also be hosting their MHS Charity Banquet on April 23rd, and the time on that is still to be determined. I'd like to now move on to some upcoming events that we have coming up. Read Across America on March 14th, the Coos Bay Public Library will be hosting the Read Across America event, and much like last year, we will have participation in this event from virtually every club up from the high school. I can say personally from Key Club, we'll be doing a bookmark coloring activity, but on behalf of all the clubs and programs participating, we're just so excited and lucky to be able to help out, and we look forward to seeing many of you guys there. Now I have a couple of updates on our post-season basketball teams from our athletic director, Greg Mulkey. Our girls have clinched a Skyrim League title and will host the OSAA Sweet 16 game on March 1st at 8:30 p.m. during the 3A state tournament, having 2 weeks off from the end of the regular season contests until the OSAA playoff game scheduled March 1st. There we go. We have scheduled a game with the 4th-ranked team in the state, Klamath Union, Friday, February 23rd at Grants Pass High School starting at 6 p.m. For our boys have earned a 4A playing game and will host it this week. At this time, we do not know who our opponent may be, but there are contests scheduled all across the state for tonight, and so we'll know who we're playing by tomorrow. I will let everyone know that date once we have it confirmed. And lastly, oh my gosh, we made it, guys. We have our 3A basketball tournament, which I've already mentioned. As you know, Marshall High School and the city of Coos Bay have hosted the 3A Oregon Sports Activities Association 3A basketball tournament for quite some time now. This year's tournament is scheduled from Thursday, February 29th through Saturday, March 2nd. I don't think I have to delve into the benefits that the school and the city reap from this event, but we're just so incredibly honored to carry on this tradition. And that is all I have, folks. Thank you so much.
Councillor Stevens is online, and also I'm adding 3E, which is going to be a quick discussion about emergency declaration. Next item on the agenda is the Coos County Public Safety Levy presentation, and we have Commissioner John Sweet, District Attorney Paul Frazier, and I think who's going to start it off is our Sheriff Gabe Fabrizio. Thanks.
Thank
Sheriff.
you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you. That was pretty neat hearing that. It's cool that the students are taking such advantage. I wish I had. I was a delinquent. Thank you for having us here, really, and allowing us to speak. We're just trying to get this word out as much as possible. We, in the past, for at least the last year, really, we've explored as much as we can to try to help coming up in the next fiscal year, if not longer going forward, to see what we can do to try to help the county. We're coming up on a pretty sharp fiscal cliff, and unfortunately it looks like we're going to have to go forward with a levy. The commissioners voted today unanimously on a levy, a public safety levy, and just wanted to let you guys know what we're looking at, what it's going to cover, what benefits it's going to give the county, give us, and answer any questions we can. So they approved the verbiage. The verbiage has been talked about ad nauseum with lawyers and with the Department of Revenue. And I think you all have copies in front of you that I'm not going to read it, not going to go along with it. But really what we have came to the conclusion with is 98 cents on the thousand. And what that looks like, if nobody's familiar with it, is the examples given in there are for a $200,000 house, that's about $196 per year. For $300,000 house, that's 220. No, I don't believe so. $294 per year. So what that'll cover, the benefit will be is an extra pod in the jail. So right now the jail is funded to 98 beds, and that will be an extra pod, so another 47 beds, totaling 147, and extra 2 DDAs. The importance of that, and I don't want to talk for Paul. I believe he's going to get up here for the DA. But the importance of that is it'll help with the backlog for prosecution of cases. And in the jail, of course, it'll help, hopefully, if it goes. And the caveat being, today it was pointed out the importance of mentioning this, the caveat being once hired. It's been really difficult to find the personnel to fill what we already have. And on the 12th, I did swear in the last person to get the staffing for the 98 beds. With, once trained, we'll be able to open that jail up to 98 beds in late April is what I'm shooting for, what we're projected to do. So I do need to hire another 7 to get to 147. But once we get there, get that other pod to help with the catch and release thing that we've experienced over the last few years. And then the extra 2 district attorneys to help with prosecution. So the levy, as we go forward, to not only help that, but to help with the shortfall of the county, because the money that is collected through the levy, it is dedicated to the jail and to those 2 DDAs. It'll actually set up a special fund through the treasurer's office, through the county. But it's going to be on the May ballot, and we just want to get that word out there as much as possible before then and answer any questions anybody has.
So, Sheriff,
Yes,
what
sir.
happens if it doesn't pass? I mean, we're at, how many beds right now?
We're funded to 98 right now.
Okay, and if we don't pass this,
Mhm.
what happens?
Then the commissioners and a civilian oversight committee are going to have some hard decisions to make.
But I mean,
And-
we're not going to have that many beds available any longer.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's bad as it is now.
Mhm.
I can speak, I don't know, to our chief can chime in, but I know
Yeah.
how difficult it is on our officers to try to even arrest anyone or move forward with it and help
Yeah.
hurt the prosecution too. So we're going to be really in a worse situation than we are now.
Absolutely. So like I said, they have a $4 million shortfall, and there's a large speech that they can give, and I don't know if Commissioner Sweet would want to give it, but basically the county budget right now is about $140 million. About $100 million is dedicated funds that come from state and federal, and those, we can't touch those. They can't go to anything else. The rest of it is made up through taxes and grants and other areas, other funds. About $6 million is all that's actually collected through property taxes, through the $1.08. That is the flat rate that can't be touched through, that goes against the county assessed property value. So of that, it's really about $24 million that is general fund. We're facing a $4 million shortfall. So the commissioners and that civilians oversight committee, they're going to have to decide where the money that's left over is going to go, and they're going to have to decide where to cut $4 million. So for me, basically they're going to say, here's what you got, work with it. And that's what I hope. They're going to say, here's what you got, and I'll have to decide where that money's best suited, and hopefully it doesn't hurt us too badly. And you know, one thing is I'm trying to remain positive through all this, so I will continue to serve the people of Coos County as best I can. I don't know what that looks like right now, and hopefully we don't need to find out. I am positive that it'll pass, though.
All right. Questions, council?
You mentioned that the
Yes, ma'am.
commissioners passed the ballot title today.
Yes, ma'am.
Was it unanimous?
Yes, it was.
All right, thanks.
And you should have that in front of you. We decided to go ahead and print out the actual ballot title and bring it. Of course.
Any other questions? Chief, you want to chime in on this a little bit?
No, I think Sheriff touched on all the critical points. I mean, obviously, we have struggled being able to take our custodies to the jail because of the jail capacity and their budget situation at this point. So, yeah, I mean, I think 147 beds, we could certainly use that in our area.
Yeah. I think it would fill up really fast, and you know, the benefit would being if it filled up to that point, anything that we did have to turn away would be really petty stuff. We'd be able to actually not only keep everybody that was serving their sentences, but if we did have to cut anybody, it wouldn't be serious stuff like we're having to turn away now.
All right. Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Who's next?
Thank you for allowing me to talk with you tonight. I have not publicly talked about the situation in my office because I really didn't want the bad guys to know what I was dealing with. And so I really haven't talked a lot about it publicly. For years, I have been budgeted to have 7 deputy DAs plus myself. In about 2020, we started having problems filling positions, lawyer positions in my office. One of the things that has happened over the years in Coos County is we paid a wage to a starting lawyer that was comparable, if you will, to another county of our size. But what happened would be I would get somebody, they'd be good, we'd train them up, we hope they would stay, and then they get a job offer from another county for $20,000 a year more, or what have you. And so I was continually training people and watching them go away. Some went to other DA's offices, some went to the Oregon Attorney General's office, some went to work for the federal Department of Justice. I think there's 3 of my former deputies that are now judges across the state, and 4 deputies that have been in my office are now elected DAs in other counties. So I've had this turnover, and it's primarily been because of our wages. What happened in 2020 in conjunction with COVID, for a variety of reasons, the market for lawyers has kind of dropped. I'm not getting applications for people to come and work to be a lawyer. And there's a variety of reasons I could go into if you're interested in my perception of why, but one of my positions, well, I've had 3 positions open out of the 7. One that's been open for almost 2 years, another for a little over a year, and another for about 9 months. I just was able to fill the one position here that's been open for almost 2 years with a young man that's just out of law school. Well, I shouldn't say out of law school. He's was working for the IRS and so forth, and decided he wanted to come work for us. And so we were able to hire him. But I've been short basically 3 lawyers for going on 4 years. At the same time, the amount of cases coming into the office has gone up. I asked my staff to check with our case management system, and in 2023, according to our case management system, we had 8,895 cases referred to the office to review for 5 people to look at. You can't do it. And as a consequence, we're behind. According again to our case management system, we have about 1,400 cases that we have not been able to even look at because we just don't have the time. And it's made us have to make some hard decisions about what cases are we going to look at and what cases are going to have to wait. And basically what we've been doing is triaging, which is person crimes kind of go to the top of the heap, and then property crimes, when we can get to them, we get to them. Now, if they're major property crimes where tens of thousands of dollars are being stolen and things along that line, they move up the list pretty quick. But when we're looking at things like thefts less than $1,000, it's probably going to be a while before we can even look at it. So that's a problem for me. Even with 7 deputy DAs, we're just going to be able to keep our nose at the water level, okay? The levy proposal adds 2 more. Could I use more? Oh, absolutely, I could use more. But if I can get it to 9, that's really going to help. And I estimate if the levy passes and I can find people to come to work in Coos County. By the way, if you know any lawyers that are looking for work, please send them my way. We could again, make up that shortfall probably in about a year, is my estimate. We could get all caught up. There's some other things I thought I'd share with you that a lot of people don't know when it comes to prosecuting cases in Coos County. The state only pays for my salary and my benefits. The state does not pay for the deputy DAs or my office staff. The state does not pay for witness fees and money I might need for expert witnesses and so forth. That all comes from the county out of the general fund. And as I pointed out to the North Bend City Council last week, I'm in the process of doing our budget. I've been asked to prepare a status quo budget, which would be 7 deputy DAs. If the levy passes, it'll go to 9. I've also been asked to prepare a budget that says a 15% cut. And the way I see it is, based on the numbers I'm seeing right now, if I have to do a 15% cut, it's probably going to be between 4 and 5 deputy DAs, and that's going to be the norm. What we're doing right now would be the norm. It would also help if we had additional jail space. Literally, my people, when we have a new case that comes in that somebody's been arrested, we literally want to look at the jail list. Who's in jail right now? Is the person that was arrested last night someone that should stay in jail? And if we do, who's going to get out? All right, that's kind of decision-making process that's going on every day, because there's only so many beds we can deal with. And so that's one of the things we have to deal with. When I came to work here in 1990, the jail facility can hold up to 250 inmates or adults in custody. When we had the budget cuts in 2007, we went to the 100-bed jail. But I can tell you, when we were operating with the 250-bed capacity, we never used that capacity. We never got there. We averaged around 160 people in custody a day. But what happened is nobody got released early on a sentence because of overcrowding. And if a judge made a decision that a person should stay in jail or post bail before they got out, they stayed in jail and didn't get out because of overcrowding. Well, nowadays, we just had a person here, and my deputies were telling me about, sentenced to 2 days in jail for a DUI. Walked him across to the jail and no room in the inn, and walked him right out the door. Okay, that's what's going on right now. And we certainly want to fix that. The other thing, as I mentioned to the city of North Bend, my budget every year has $30,000 in it for trial expenses. Okay, that's it. And out of that budget of $30,000, I use to pay witness fees, mileage. If I need to hire an expert, that's where that money comes from. Okay. I've got 2 major homicide cases coming up for trial. One that will be tried in May of next year, and I'm estimating on that case I'm probably going to have to spend a minimum of about $20,000 on that case alone. And then we have another case that's been set for trial in August of 2025, which is the next budget year. I'm going to have to come up with about $30,000 to try that case if it goes to trial. So I'm going to be wiping out my trial expense budget real quick. And I'm going to be going to guys like John and saying, hey, John, have you got a secret stash someplace that you can help me out? And there isn't any. So I don't know what we're going to do. We need the help. We studied long and hard. What can we do to fix this problem? And we've looked at a variety of different options. And the only thing we could come up with that's going to fix this problem is this 5-year levy. And it's only for 5 years, and you've seen the numbers. But at the end of 5 years, the levy ends. We can come back to the voters then and ask for it to be renewed. And if you don't think we've been doing a good job, don't vote for it. If you think we've been doing a good job, we'll continue. You'll vote for it again. But the other thing is, it's not going to go to pay for road deputies. It's not going to go to pay for a secretary in my office. It's going to pay for deputy DAs and people to fund or staff the jail. And it's going to be accounted for in this special fund that's been set up. You can see it in the wording of the ballot title. We need your help. So that's my presentation. I hope I haven't been too much of a depressing speaker, but I guess one of the problems that we have is there's less lawyers out there for jobs, which some people might think is a good idea. With less lawyers, less problems, but anyway. Any questions you'd like to ask me?
Yeah, so Paul, I'm just going to go back in time when Judge Barron was on the bench and he was overseeing the scheduling. If I remember correctly, and probably we had 250 beds, that he was very adamant about getting the people before him and prosecuted in a timely manner. And because of it, I think we had the lowest crime rate in the state because no one wanted to hang around here because they knew they'd be prosecuted quickly. Am I correct?
We did move cases real quick. I've had to put the brakes on Judge Stone. He wanted to go even faster. And I can't go that fast with 4 deputy DAs. I mean, he was stacking, 2-3 case trials a day per deputy, and you can't prepare for 2 trials and not know which one's going to go. So I've had to get him to slow down, just to keep my people from burning out, because I was afraid my people were going to burn out and quit.
But with the
frankly.
system the way it is now, even if Judge Stone goes faster than Judge Barron, the point is we have no way to prosecute these crimes and these individuals, and we have nowhere to put them on top of it. Am I right?
That's correct. And one of the things that I think that when Judge Barron was there and we had the 250-bed jail, people knew if Judge Barron said, okay, you're doing 30 days in jail, you did 30 days in jail, minus your good time. You did it. Now it's, okay, maybe I'll do 30 days. I probably won't. So what's the big deal?
Or their crime can't be prosecuted in a timely manner, so they could be, hanging out for months, waiting for it to be prosecuted, or even longer, correct?
That's correct. I mean, some of these people right now, we have 12, 13 files on because we can't hold them to get their cases resolved, and they go out and keep committing new crimes.
So besides the 1,400 cases that you're not going to hear, then we're also in a slower process, and we can't prosecute them in a timely manner or even put them in jail then.
Well, yes. I mean, one of my deputies today brought to me a piece of intake he was looking at that's dated from 2022. And I said, okay, well, first off, are the people that are your witnesses, are they still around? Right. If you don't have those witnesses, you're not going to go anywhere with this.
The other thing I heard, and you touched on this at the City Council of North Bend, was that why don't we rent out our beds to the federal government or other agencies because we could generate income and maybe operate the system a little bit better that way.
We tried that.
Okay.
When we passed the bond issue that actually increased the jail to 250 beds back in the early 90s, we were actually renting, I think it was between 20 and 30 beds to the federal government for pretrial detention on federal prisoners. They did that for a while, but then they quit, primarily because the federal public defenders indicated it was too hard and too expensive for them to come down and meet with their clients in the Coos County Jail when their cases were being prosecuted out of Medford or Eugene or Portland. And so they said they complained so much that the U.S. Marshals stopped that contract.
Thanks. Questions? The rest of the council? Anyone?
I was just going to congratulate you getting the cost of a trial down that low. Some of my work brought me into contact with the Department of Justice due to somebody's past activities, and they declined a case because it was going to cost them $40,000 just to prosecute financial issues. So getting the cases you're talking about, I think that highlights what John talks about, is the county has done everything it can to keep costs low.
Well, when I say cost, I'm not including salaries of the lawyers. What I'm talking about is, okay, witnesses. Like for one of these trials, I've got witnesses that are spread across the United States. And to fly somebody, say, from the East Coast to come and testify, you got to fly them here, fly them back. You got to put them up in a motel. You got to pay their per diem. And it roughly comes out, I'm budgeting those at about $2,000 per witness.
Yeah.
And then it gets more expensive if I have to bring in an expert. Like, say I need a psychologist or a psychiatrist to testify about the mental state of the defendant at the time of the crime. Well, you're going to spend minimum $5,000 just to get the mental health professional to look at it, and then you're probably spending another $5,000 to $7,000 for them to testify.
I think I know the answer to this one, but just as a hypothetical, if your office starts processing the cases faster than the jail is able to expand in staff, the individual is getting processed through the excess. Do they just get escorted out again, or will you be synchronizing with the sheriff as capacity opens, your processing speed goes up or down?
Well, if the levy doesn't pass and we're back to 4 or 5 deputy DAs in a 48-bed jail, it's going to be what we're doing right now. What we're doing right now will become the norm, so to speak. If the levy does pass and we move up to the, 147 beds, then we can, I'm sure we can fill it.
Yeah, my
But
question
we
was if
will,
you
we will,
overfill it.
we will try to coordinate that. But, you know, there's a saying that justice delayed is justice denied. And so to sit back and say, well, gee, I don't want to prosecute this till the jail is ready for us, that may not work.
Anyone else? Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Commissioner Sweet?
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I think in the 10, going on 11 years that I've served as your county commissioner, it's been a privilege. But this is the most important thing that's come across my desk. Our justice system isn't working as it should. Our people are doing all they can with the resources they have. But as Joe alluded to, people used to get in trouble. They'd get tried, they get put in jail pretty quickly. Same way I grew up. Discipline was sure and swift. And if we don't have that in our public safety system, we lose a deterrent to bad behavior. Clarify a little bit where we are in beds. Right now, we have 49 beds that are capacity for 49 inmates. We have had the budget for another 49, and the sheriff has just been able to hire the people that we need to fill that. So that will give us 98 beds. With this levy, we'll have another 50% more capacity on top of that, over 100, what does it bring, 147 beds. Little bit, I wouldn't expect anyone to, a little bit about our money, I wouldn't expect anyone to approve a public safety levy or any tax increase if they felt that their money that they're giving the county now wasn't being handled properly. I don't think there's any way to completely allay that thought that there's better ways to spend our money. But I can tell you this, that our county's tax rate at $1.08 per thousand, that's our operating rate, is the second lowest rate in the state. We currently have a total rate of $1.28 because we're paying off a emergency radio communication system. That will be paid off with the money we collect this November. So starting next year, your net increase caused by the 98 cents that we're charging, we'll hope to get through this public safety levy, will be offset in part by a 20-cent reduction of something we've already paid. very proud of what the county's managed to do with the second lowest property tax rate in the county, in the state. And it's not second lowest by just a little bit. It's second lowest by about 2/3. And even with the public safety levy, the 98 cents, it'll be increased, of course, but it'll still be a little bit under 60% of the average in the state. I want to make it clear that this money will be spent on precisely what we're telling you it will be spent on. It'll be spent on the jail, and it'll be spent on the DA's office. It will go into a special fund, and that fund will be used only for those departments. The fund will be audited, and that audit will be available to the public. This will generate about $5 million a year the first year. That's on the back side of your this handout. And for those of you in the audience, there's a handout on the back table there. You're welcome to take. It's the ballot title. That will be on the May ballot. It describes the levy and explains it. I just don't think without this that we will have a system that will do our citizens justice. I think you all know that public safety is a lot more than having policemen on the street, policemen on the road, deputies on the road. It is a system. We all share, the cities, the county, and the state, in patrol. But when it comes to the other things, prosecution, the jail, courts, parole and probation, and juvenile, that's all on the county's plate. And we just don't have enough money to properly fund that system. And the choke points are what we've described here. In the DA's office, we need more help there, and in the jail, we need more capacity there. The mayor asked where we would be without this, and again, we've tried to keep this positive, but I also have to be truthful. It won't be very pretty. So, questions? I'd be happy to answer. Can't imagine there are too many left after the job that.
Probably not. Questions for council? Stephanie?
I guess my question would be, this is a 5-year local option levy. What happens at year 6?
Well, that's under the way our property tax laws in the state work. You have your base rate. That's our $1.08. And you can float a bond, but this is not a situation for a bond. And you can increase your taxes for as long as it takes to pay that bond off. But if you want an operating levy, you can only do that for 5 years. And in a way, that's good, because if we don't properly use that money, then the citizens would have every right, and I would have every expectation that they said you didn't deliver what you thought you would, what you said you would. And so we wouldn't get that funding again. I won't be here. Pardon me? It would have to be, yeah, there would have to be another election. And then, at that point in time, you can choose to renew the levy or not.
You would have a basis of what has transpired over that 5 years.
Yes. And hopefully that experience would be good.
It's probably also worth noting for folks, though, this is going to be another one of those things folks don't always believe about government, but I believe I was at your meeting this morning and it was said, if funding through another mechanism, like by some miracle the state decided to fix some of the timber harvesting and revenue came in, that levy can be reduced before the 5-year mark as well.
Yeah, we don't have to levy the full amount.
Yeah.
And I know the current commissioners well enough that if there were additional sources of money made available to us, I wouldn't bet on it. You know, we've been kicking that let's get the federal timber dollars horse for about 40 years that I remember. At some point in time, that horse is going to be dead, and I think he probably died several years ago, but we're going to try to bring him back to life. And if we do, we'll refund this money, but if we don't, we'll at least have a good public safety system. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Paul and Sheriff, all of you, thank you so much. Good luck on this. I hope it passes to help keep things in check on the criminal side and the prosecution side. So anyway, thanks. Next item on the agenda is emergency declaration that I put on, and Drew Farmer wanted this to be on the agenda for, and I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so this was just to follow up on something I've brought up a few times at council, and I submitted for review. It's a two-component item, so what I did, and I should give credit where credit is due beforehand. The emergency declaration around fentanyl was first brought up by Chris Castleman. He's somewhere out there. I know I saw him. There he is. So I didn't realize he had been working on this for a year beforehand. So I took what he was working with and I played with it a little. So City of Portland was provided, well, actually they were directed by the governor to put together a work group around the issue they've got, and then they were directed to issue an state of emergency. So we saw an example where basically a state of emergency was directed by the governor, so that meant it was a possibility, of course. I took what they did, government called best practicing, and then I turned it into something that fit with Coos Bay so that it's usable by us. This is taking a little more review. So the ordinance, as the first side, Portland was encouraged by the governor to pass an ordinance that prohibited the public use of controlled substances. Obviously, because of the state of the courts and the state of the legislature in Oregon, you can't prosecute public use of controlled substances, but they were encouraged to put it on the books in the expectation that that would be reversed. So they have a thing, I want us to have a thing, where as soon as that law kicks over and we can do something legally about the public use of controlled substances, it is on the books, we go immediately. People doing controlled substance in public need to not be doing that, and whatever legal consequences follow, that is what follows. Second item was the declaration of emergency. This is a declaration of emergency around fentanyl and drugs more broadly in Oregon, but this again was encouraged for the city of Portland, the county of Multnomah, which overlaps the city of Portland, and then for the state to follow suit, which all three things have happened now. The city up there was provided additional state troopers. They were provided additional assistance to their DA's office to catch up on their caseload. They were provided additional funding out of our ODOT dollars. So whereas the Department of Transportation has indicated it didn't have the money to clear roads this year for all and then focused it on Portland, they still found enough money to give more of that money they weren't going to spend on us in Portland. So this ordinance would be another, or declaration of emergency would be a way to take back, hopefully, some funds out of ODOT, get assistance for the DA office, get us some police assistance. And I've talked with John about this, and it's not by any means a long-term solution to something. But in the topic that, and I didn't actually know it would take two extra assistant DAs to catch up on the caseload in 1 year, but if that is the case, I think that's what we should ask the state for. We need 2 people to assist out of the Oregon Department of Justice, and then we need additional troopers to assist with staffing the jail, because what Portland was given was 2 troopers to ride around on bicycles, or no, they were given 8 troopers to ride around on bicycles. So I feel it's pretty reasonable to ask for a couple to help us with the jail. So that's what I've been working on, and that's what I figure we'll see back at the next work session. I gave it over, attorney has to look at it. Like Frazier said, attorneys make life more complicated, but I appreciate them. And then the chief has to look at it.
So Nicole, we'll just put this on the work session and have it reviewed at the work session and discuss it, right?
Yes, we can add it to the February work session. We have done a little bit of work already on it, but there are some kind of outstanding questions that we need to kind of research a bit.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Drew. Okay, next item is annual report for the Coos Bay Library. Sammy? Are you here? Oh, there you are. You don't have to come up. You can stay there if you wish. Oh, do you want me to? No, that's fine. Now you're up. Okay.
make sure I'm on here. Okay, well, thank you all for allowing me to present our annual report tonight. Now let's see if I can make this work. All right, technology is our friend right now. All right, so I'd just like to start with our library mission. We have several components to it. We have connection, equity, learning, enrichment, and quality of life. These are several things that we, as the library, choose to participate with the community through this. We connect to the community, obviously, in various forms. We ensure equitable access to information and technology, provide opportunities for learning, promote cultural enrichment, and overall improve the quality of life of our citizens. Just for a brief rundown, we are the largest library on the Oregon coast. We have over 81,000 books, and that is just books. We also have thousands of other items like DVDs, audiobooks, games, just a wide variety of things. We offer over 400 programs and events a year at the library for all ages. We have a small and a large meeting room that is for public use, that's used everything from study groups to baby showers to nonprofits quite often meet in our small room almost every day, actually a different one. We also provide access to the internet through public use computers and through free Wi-Fi, along with technology help, should you need it. One thing that our library does also provide is a library of things, and that is literally what it is, things. We have everything from a paper shredder to a food dehydrator, a sock knitting kit, should you be brave enough to try that, and we do take requests for other things, should you find yourself in need and not wanting to store it in your own garage. One of our more popular collections is our board game collection, and we feature both games for children, learning games, things like how to do fractions and math and reading, and then lots of games for all ages in addition to that. Oops, sorry, I made them in the wrong way. Okay. Some other things we offer that you don't have to come into the library to get, you just have to have a card. We offer Libby and Hoopla, which are two platforms. Oops, I went one too far, sorry. Oh, oops. Okay, I don't know where my slide went. There it is. We offer Libby and Hoopla. You can get your ebooks or your audiobooks, download them right to your device, and away you go. We also have Flipster, which provides online magazines. And then we also offer a bi-weekly podcast that mainly focuses on science fiction and fantasy, but they do tend to stray a bit from that once in a while. So to get back to the programs that we offer, we have information, we have entertainment, and educational events. This was one of our most popular ones. Good thing the fire marshal didn't show up. This was on wills and trusts, and people were very interested to get their business in order, if you will. Various programs for adults. We have book clubs, arts and crafts, game nights, health and fitness, language learning, and other things. Programs for teens. We just did a winter art series during winter break, and you can see the first couple pictures there are some of the results of that. We also have craft takeout kits available for teens. They can take home and make things in their own time. We also have wellness kits and book clubs and cooking classes for them. For the younger set and the families, we provide everything from story times. We do a summer reading program, although that is for all ages, so feel free to participate. And We do our Read Across America program, our class visits. We also have science and technology programs that we also put on every month. One of our newer programs is our community refrigerator. This is operated through grants and generous partnerships that we have throughout the community. This is a fridge that features a variety of fruits and vegetables, and it all depends on the day what's in there. Anybody can walk in and just request some. We take some simple metrics such as just where you live and how many are in your household. But it's open to anyone as long as the library is open. That's when it's available. And we serve everyone from hungry after-school kids to, somebody passing by and say, I've never tried a turnip. What is it? And then we'll provide them with a recipe and a turnip, and away they go. We have some really great established partnerships throughout our community. We do every year the Gift of Literacy with Rotary, where every first grader in the county gets a book and is also treated to a big event at the college. We work with Head Starts in the area. Our library offers Dolly Parton Imagination Library to any child who is 5 and under. They get a free book mailed to them every month to establish their home library, so they always have something to read at their fingertips. And as the one I didn't list here, and thank you, Harper, for pointing out, we do quite often partner with the schools, and we have that upcoming event in March that the high school students just make it such a delight. We are also out and about in the community. Every Friday morning, you will find us out at the Empire Fire Station and at the Eastside Fire Station. We provide an opportunity for those who can't get actually to the library to pick up their holds or to drop off the materials to us so that they can still use the library without having to figure out transportation. We are also quite often at the farmers market. We're at the Family Fun Day, 4th of July in the park, and you'll see us out and about other places too. So here's some highlights from this last fiscal year, which would have gone from July of 2022 through June of 2023. We had over 85,000 library visits. That's people walking through our door. We had a little over 119,000 wireless sessions, over 218 physical checkouts. And as you can see, we had 445 programs with over 10,000 people attending those programs. And so, any questions from anyone?
Any questions, council, for Sammy? No?
Sammy, just curious, how popular are the Fridays in Empire?
Well, when it's raining sideways, not very, but we go out every Friday regardless. But we do get, we have over in Eastside, we have a daycare that visits us almost every Friday. That's their little outing before they go to the playground. And we have several families long-term that have been using us in Empire that just don't have reliable transportation. So it kind of ebbs and flows, but we always have someone, it seems like. So, yeah.
Anyone else? All right.
And
Thanks, Sam.
can I have one more moment?
Absolutely.
I'd just like to introduce our new Deputy Library Director. This is Jenny Brownfield. She
Hi.
has joined
Welcome.
us last week, so. Okay.
All right.
Oh, I don't need this anymore.
Thanks. Next item on the agenda is public hearing to consider approval of the advisory vote on the future site of the Coos Bay Library. Nicole?
Yes, thank you. So at your August 4th, 2023 council meeting, staff reported that due to the nature of the upcoming November election, placing a measure on the ballot would potentially have resulted in a cost to the city. And although the election cost would have been shared with another entity at that point in August, there was not another filing on the ballot. The estimated cost could have been up to $60,000 at that point. You spent a little time discussing and decided that we would put on the May ballot a advisory vote to hopefully identify the appropriate location for the future library building. There are 2 locations that were kind of narrowed down from some survey work that was done in the fall. That would be the current location, a rebuild at that site, and then also a site out on Ocean Boulevard, which is adjacent to Cascade Farm and Outdoor. We have, the survey work was as a result of working with a consultant who helped provide some educational information and then also perform the survey. There were several questions on that, including where the future site of the library should be. That survey result did give us a lot of great information. However, where we ended up landing was not a great certainty about the best location for the library. So at the recommendation, we are now presenting to you the ballot title, which has been discussed with the city attorney. However, we do have some modifications which came in late, so we will show those. But this would be if you would like to move forward with that. And this is just I think we found in recent election processes that the language can be difficult for some individuals, and maybe the outcome of the election is not as evident by a yes or a no vote. So we are trying to work on cleaning that up with language that is just more easily understood. And so that's kind of the result that you see here. Using legislative format, that first paragraph will still remain the same. And of course, you can always use the version that you were presented with, but and I'm happy to read that so that it's easier to see than through legislative format. But what we're asking is, if this is acceptable to you, that you obviously need to hold a public hearing and take any feedback, but potentially we're asking for you to approve this and allow us to place it on the May ballot.
So is there any question for Nicole, and are we satisfied with what's being presented? If not, there's no reason to open the public hearing, but if it is, I'll open the public hearing.
Is this the cleaned up version?
This is now, yes.
The one that's in our packet?
The one that's on the screen now, the legislative edits
Okay.
have been removed, so you could see them.
For the SEL 805, I'm kind of thinking on the exact wording, because I think it's important in some way that we include the price tag next to the site in the question. Because just from my friends that call me and ask me questions about ballot measures, I know a lot of people don't read the summary. So I think including it somewhere in the question would be beneficial for the reader.
Okay.
So
You got to remember now, it depends which one's chosen, right? But you think it should be listed in there?
I made a version of the wording that was, because it's also, you can only put 20 words in the question,
Right.
so it's a little
That's the problem.
constrained. Say again?
I said, that's the problem, you got 20
Yeah,
words.
I tweaked it to replace the library at the current site downtown, parentheses 35M, or on Ocean Boulevard near Cascade, parentheses 28M, to represent the million, so that it's not just enormously long with all the zeros.
All right,
thought.
so when does this have to be submitted or approved?
So it needs to come before you, starting, I believe, the 8th of February. And then it needs to be to the county, and I should know this date, but it's the first part of March. So it needs to be filed with the clerk. So we're
Okay.
kind of down to,
Right.
yeah.
All right. So you're not pleased, Drew, with what's presented here?
So this is the summary that's
Right.
up there. I think
Yeah, I
he's,
don't have any problem with the summary.
But you want the ballot title to include the cost?
For the question.
The question.
Yeah, because when we received the survey data back, the reason, you probably remember this, but for the audience purposes, there were two separate questions. One included just locations, one included locations with price tags.
Okay.
And that's why we have the downtown site as an option and the Ocean Boulevard site as an option, because when presented with what location do you want, flat out, it was downtown. When presented with options that included price tags, Ocean Boulevard was the only site that was not a flat no. It was the only one that stood a conceivable chance. And of
Drew,
course,
can you read your version of the question again?
yeah, replace the library at the current site downtown, parentheses, $35M, or million, or on Ocean Boulevard near Cascade, parentheses, 28M, to represent million.
So does that meet the 20 words?
I can just pass my laptop down, I typed it.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
All right,
It came
so-
out to like 15, I think.
So I think that we can adopt it as long as it meets the 20 words. If not, it can be,
How many words do you have on there, Drew?
Let me see if I can count that high. I'm in
Because
government.
my concern is not everybody's going to know what Cascade is.
Yeah, Ocean Boulevard near Cascade is how it's already written. So, well, it says Cascade Farm and Outdoor, but still. You can put the old Kmart, see how many people remember it. 1, 2, 3, 6,
yeah, you're right.
Oh, now,
It's going back in time.
11,
Yeah.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and a question mark.
16? All right. Is everyone all right with that?
I liked adjacent better than near, but
Yeah, Jason's good.
Okay. All
Fancier
right,
than
put
me.
adjacent in there. That makes it 17, right?
Instead of near is
Okay,
I like saying the name of Cascade,
okay.
which just adds.
I only used 16, so you could actually add farm
Okay.
and outdoor.
Okay, so let's do that then. And that'll make it 19, I guess. All right, so that being the case, we all agree, then we're going to open the public hearing. So if anyone has a question about this ballot title, advisory vote, I should say, advisory vote, please come forth and make a comment.
Oh, I apologize, I forgot a thing. One of the commissioners has 4 advisory measures they want to put on the ballot, so that would reduce our cost, right?
So in a primary and in a general, the cost is covered within it isn't shared out to the
Oh,
districts.
nice.
So does anyone make a comment about the advisory vote for the library location? There's 2 locations, one on Ocean Boulevard by Cascade Farms, the other one would be downtown where the existing library is. This is just an advisory vote. This is nothing more than that, but we're going out to see if we can set some direction on where you might want the location of the library. So, any comment on that? This is the time for the public hearing?
If you want to
Can-
speak, you have to come up here.
The only reason is there's counselors online that can't hear you unless you're at a microphone.
Thank you. Just name and city you reside in. Please.
Name's Amy Manuel, Coos Bay, Inglewood. I would like to see things like the library and others kind of probably stay where they're at while we're trying to handle the current problems we have with the homeless and the funding for the jails and all of this stuff that seems to be getting created by our homeless. And the fact that we're attracting them here with all the services. I would vote that it stays where it's at until we have time to handle all these other issues going on.
Well, that's what this is about, where it would go. So that's what it's about. It's just an advisory vote. So-
That's all.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Yes? Go ahead. Now, remember, this is just about the library vote and the advisory. Okay.
Tom Greaves, 155 South Mill Street, Coos Bay, Oregon. I noticed in the wording it said this is non-binding.
Correct.
Is that normal for something like that?
Well, this will be, because we're just wanting an advisory vote. This is not going to, I mean, it'll be, we will take that advice, and then we'll go out with a ballot measure asking for the funding of it, if
I see.
the advisory vote gives
So
us
if there's
direction.
like a landslide wants it in one location or the other, or if it's close, does that mean you guys will still use
Advisory.
councilman leeway, or?
No. It'll.
Or
whatever
go with the way it's
if
voted?
Whatever the vote is, if it's one vote that says it's going to be one place or the other, that's what we'll go with.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know, besides the fact that I like it where it is now, too.
Okay. Adam?
All right, Adam Palmer, Coos Bay. I think it's probably best where it's at too. Reason being is, again, I know we're talking about this, not the homeless thing, but I do think there's better locations than Inglewood for the homeless. I know this is an advisory thing, and I did mention by the Cascade for that, since it is away from most residential and everything else. The heart of Coos Bay is a pretty good place for a library. I mean, it really is. It's been there a long time. There's quite a bit of uses there. May I ask a question about the visitors to the library? So you have 86,000 visitors. It's very hard to count who's homeless and who's not, but I've always had a question since living here, because that used to be a big hub for the homeless, always hanging out by the bus stop there and everything. So my question is, how many of those people, or do you know, 86,000 visitors are homeless folks visiting, using their resources versus kids and, taxpayers?
We don't
You don't know.
differentiate between your economic status.
So
when
you just
come to the
count
library.
warm bodies going through.
Bodies.
Okay, awesome. All right.
And
That's it.
can I just add to that, the mechanism for counting is a gate counter, and
Right.
it unfortunately doesn't have the ability to know your status. It's just a,
Slide your credit card before you go in.
no.
Okay,
No.
thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Okay, any other comments? Yes. Now, we're sticking to the library here.
Sammy, just a quick question while he's coming up. The children's programs, that is a number that you count, don't you?
Yes, we count them, they would be counted in that body count, if you will, as they come in. But we also have programs where they aren't in the library itself. Like we do the concerts at Mingus Park, for instance, so. But those aren't counted as visitors to the library, but we
So-
count them as programming numbers.
Okay, you just,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Chris Castleman, Coos Bay. Question would be, I appreciate you asking the public for their opinion on this. That's like a neat concept. And my question would be, why not have an advisory vote for moving the Devereaux Center?
We can, if you want to make that a comment when the time comes, Chris,
I
you're
mean,
more
it's
than welcome to.
literally related, but that's fine if you
All
don't
right,
want to
thank you.
answer,
All right.
Howard.
Anyone else that wants to make a comment? Yes. Rodney?
Rodney Stalkup, Coos Bay. Just want some clarification. The $7 million difference between the two sites, should I imagine that's just piling and safety?
So one's in, and chime in anyone that wants to, one's in a flood zone down where it is, and to rebuild it, we'd have to get out of the flood zone. So my understanding is it would be something like City Hall is now, be up, so we wouldn't run into it, and we also have to make sure it's going to be earthquake-proof, which it still would be out there, seismic, which is more difficult down here. And these are just estimates from an engineer. We don't want to get into a lot of expense, so these are just rough estimates on the difference of cost.
Thank
Am I
you, Joe.
correct, Nicole, anything else on that, or Jennifer?
No, that's correct.
Yeah, so you're right.
And just out of curiosity on that question, when we originally brought this up and we were looking at numbers, how much did it go up from when we originally started talking about doing downtown to the point we're at now?
I don't have the exact figures, but it's several million now.
I mean, if I remember correctly, it was somewhere in the $25 million range is what we were talking about when it's at John Toppitz, and
it's
now we're
34,
at
34.
these figures that we're at now. So, anyway. All right, any more public comments on this item? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing, and then council, how do you like to proceed on this resolution?
And if you guys so choose to select the revised wording, we'd want to make sure we're noting that in our resolution.
So if you
motions.
adopt the resolution 2407 with the adopted wording that has been suggested by Councilor Farmer and tweaked a little bit by Councilor Cribbins and
So,
I'll give it a whirl. I
Okay.
move we adopt resolution 24-07, approving the ballot title as amended by Councilor Farmer and Councilor Cribben, and referral to the electors of Coos Bay on the upcoming May 21st, 2024 election.
I'll second that.
All right, Nate gave it a nod, so that's, we meet that. All
Can
right.
I?
All right.
We all,
in a
sorry,
row.
one more.
Yes.
So, Councilor Farmer addressed the question, but we did have some modified language in the summary. So I don't know if we want to have question and summary in our motion, if that's your
I
choice.
would amend my amended motion to add the summary, the amended summary as well.
Troy, you want to make a second to the amendment? Okay.
Yes, I will second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution with the changes submitted by Councilor Kilmer. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Okay, next item is consideration to approve the task order of the integration work associated with the Plant 1 Phase 1 upgrade project. Jennifer.
Thank you. So for a little background, the city advertised for bids for construction for the Plant 1 Phase 1 project back in May of 2023. Bids were opened in June of 2023, and council awarded the project for construction to McClure & Sons for just under $18 million. With these types of upgrades, there must be programming and software installation to control and monitor the new upgrades and ensure the components of the upgraded system work together and talk to each other. This type of work is referred to as integration. So the city advertised a request for qualifications for an integrator of record in early 2021. The 5-year contract was awarded to Jacobs. Jacobs provided a scope and fee and a level of effort for this integration task of $311,000 for the Plant 1 project. So staff has been tracking this total budget from pre-design to final design to regulatory approvals and construction, and we've had a budget of $24 million. So to date, we are on track to meet that budget. Funds for this project will come from a loan from the Department of Environmental Quality's State Revolving Fund, and it should be noted, if we don't expend the full $24 million, the city is only responsible for actual costs incurred.
So where is this funding coming from?
Department of Environmental Quality State Revolving Fund.
Okay, and we've already figured this into our rates for wastewater collection, is
We
that
have.
correct? Okay, so it's not something we're going out and trying to get new funds for. This has already been projected for and
It's
taken
already
care
been
of.
planned for and projected for, yes.
All right, any other comments or questions, anyone? That being the case, can I get a motion, please?
I move we approve the task order for integration efforts for Plant 1 Phase 1 upgrade project to Jacobs for an amount not to exceed $357,650, which includes the 15% contingency.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the task order that's been in the motion. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Next item, consideration to adopt Resolution 2404, repealing the city's sidewalk maintenance policy. Jim?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, are we hearing from Councilor Matthews on these? I mean, I don't know if those are being registered or.
I would think. Are you voting, Councilor Matthews and Stevens?
Sorry, Councilor Stevens.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've been voting the
Yeah,
whole time.
right, okay. Thank you for the clarification, just want to make sure.
Thank you.
All right, the consideration for Resolution 2404. Jim?
Yes, this is nothing new. You saw this item back 2 weeks ago. You repealed the city's sidewalk maintenance policy based on recommendations from our insurance provider. However, I failed to include a resolution document memorializing that repeal, and what's before you tonight is to adopt Resolution 24-04, repealing the city's sidewalk maintenance policy.
Okay, this is just basically to cover a recommendation by an insurance company, so we wouldn't be liable. If I understand correctly and remember correctly, that we were sued because of a policy we had in place. That doesn't mean that we're not going to maintain the sidewalks.
That's correct.
Any other questions?
I'm ready for a motion.
All right.
I
Go
make
ahead.
a motion, we adopt Resolution 2404, repealing the city's sidewalk maintenance policy dated February 18th, 2014.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to the Resolution 2404, repealing the city's sidewalk maintenance program policy. Any other comments or questions? Hearing now, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing that it passes. Next item, consideration to allocate opioid settlement funds in support of Sobering Center, would have to adopt a resolution. Nicole?
Thank you. I'm going to apologize because I will likely mispronounce that word several times throughout this conversation. So, and also in the staff report, I have a year referenced wrong. In early December of 2023, not 2024, several community members met to discuss the work that the local alcohol and drug planning committee have been driving. The opioid settlement funds are payable over the coming years, with cities across the nation, those that had 10,000 or more in population, receiving these funds. Along with that settlement, those settlement documents, Exhibit E, which is a listing of the uses of those funds, has been provided to those cities. And that basically just gives us the guidelines on how those funds can be used. We've spent some time, city staff has spent some time looking that exhibit over to try and identify ways in which we could use that in the services we provide to Coos Bay citizens. However, we were unfortunately unable to come up with a significant use of those funds. The December meeting that was held, the ask made really good sense to support essentially establishing a sobering center. Recently, the county commissioners met to discuss using a pod at the Coos County Jail for the location of the sobering center. With that support, and we have members from the committee here today, so if there are some questions and you guys want to add some depth, certainly that's an option. But with that support, it looks to be like this is something that can move forward in our community. And this impacts much of the challenges that we already have in regards to holding folks who are not ready to face next steps. They have a space to be at where they can sober up, and then next steps can be applied as are appropriate. The LAPDC group has been discussing the operational side of this with ADAPT, who is currently running a sobering center in Roseburg, which has been a pretty successful venture. They've been looking for community partners, and at that December meeting, I suggested that we would have interest in dedicating our funds as we were unable to come up with a way that we could use them. And this would impact, directly impact the work that our police department is doing. So I guess if there are any questions and or if members of the committee wanted to add anything.
So are there any questions about this? I think it wasn't Sheriff Fabrizio involved in organizing this?
Yes, there was actually quite a large group of folks who were there at that December meeting. I think it was well attended, it was well received. I think it's definitely something this community is behind in general.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Carver. I work at the South Coast Regional Early Learning Hub, but I'm a member of the local alcohol and drug planning committee for Coos County. And I also noticed Jerry from ADAPT is on the line too, and so he would be the best person to answer questions related to operations. And they staff or oversee the sobering center in Roseburg as well. And I would also say that so this has been a culmination of a lot of work over many years to get to the place that we're at here today. In the last year, there's been a lot of movement where we've identified a location. Sheriff Fabrizio is in support of the sobering center and is offering space. Actually, they're looking at the old juvenile department. And ADAPT has agreed to step up and operate the sobering center, which is great because they already have experience operating one in Roseburg that's been very successful. And we've got pretty good support from law enforcement and the different treatment programs that exist here in Coos County. This is one of the things that we've really just seen a lot of support from across the community. And we're in a unique position where we've got a place, we've got an organization that's going to run it, we've got support, and now we've got new dollars that are coming to the city and to the counties that could fund the sobering center. A couple of things. Sobering is not treatment. It is really a public safety response. It's a place to bring somebody who's publicly intoxicated and hold them until they're more sober. It's a supportive environment, though, so it's run by people who are specifically trained in how to work with people with drug and alcohol addiction issues. And the place in Roseburg, the Sobering Center in Roseburg, has seen a lot of people who are regularly being brought to the Sobering Center actually access treatment within the first year of opening. So it's a great way to address the public safety need of there's not really a good place to bring people right now other than the emergency room, and the jail isn't really an option for people who are just publicly intoxicated and aren't committing crimes. So this is a new resource that would be available to the community, and it's not something that is billable because it's not treatment, so it has to be fundraised locally. I think those are most of the things. And I would also, one more thing,
Go ahead.
Chief Chapinar has been a part of a lot of the planning conversations and a big advocate for the Sobering Center. And so if you had anything else that you wanted to share about what you think the benefits would be of the Sobering Center.
I think you did a really good job, Charlotte, explaining it. I think it's another tool in the toolbox. It's a resource that I believe our community is lacking, and it'll just provide us that additional option when the hospital's not an option or the jail's not an option.
So what happens now when we have somebody that's intoxicated and you take them to the jail? What happens?
Currently, under the jail policy, we are not able to take anybody that has a BAC over an 08. Now that may change as the jail beds expand, but anybody that is over an 08, we cannot transport. And so essentially we have no place to take them if they're not able to go to the hospital, which is generally not the recommended location for them. We basically try to find a responsible adult and turn them over to a responsible adult, but that's not obviously always the case, especially when you're dealing with adults.
Thank you. So Jerry, how many people do we anticipate using this facility?
Yeah, it tends to be pretty spiky. It's not like a jail or a hospital where it's fully utilized all the time. You know, in Grants Pass, which was the first one using this model several years ago, they started out shooting for an average of 1 per day over the course of a week. Of course, it spiked up higher than that at times. And in their second and third year, they saw those numbers climb to be about 3 to 4 average per day, with some days going up to 10 or so. In Douglas County, we saw a similar beginning, a shorter spike. This is because we don't have as many ways to bring people in. And so in Coos County, when we start this up, we want to have at least 3 referral pathways going within that first year, so that hopefully we'll see a 1 to 3 utilization per day on average. With spikes, we go up to 4 to 6. And that would be pretty normal utilization for a sobering center.
Thank you. Council, questions? So how much are these funds?
So we are estimated to receive, based on the settlement, a little over $750,000 over a 15-year period. And those settlement amounts are based on the folks who have to pay those, how they pay that out. So, I shared this information with the group when we met in December. There is a variance in annual amounts received, and we'll have to work within that. But it generally lands in about a $50,000 a year amount. We do have some larger upfront amount right now, like we have a little over 100,000 that we've received, but it will kind of balance out to about 50,000, and then it will start to decrease towards the end of that 15-year period. So
So I guess my question to Jerry or whomever, are these funds going to be sufficient to take care of this sobering center for that period of time? I mean, I hate to see it start up and then all of a sudden we find it having to be dismantled and not exist any longer.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Go ahead, Charlotte.
So that's one of the things that we're doing as an LADPC is helping find the funds to open the sobering center, and we're also asking for more than 1 year commitments so that we're not grant funded 1 year after another. It's going to take around $470,000 to open the first year. The Advanced Health was the first funder for the sobering center, around $20,000. The Coos County Commissioners just recently agreed to a $300,000 for the first year and then $250,000 for the following few years. So $50,000 is not exactly where we need to be, but it puts us a lot closer. And we do have other funders that we plan to approach.
Okay. So is this resolution for just the 1 year?
I'm asking that we would dedicate the funds as we receive them. I mean, obviously, you can come back at some future point if we see that we have a reason to, but I think this is the best use of these funds for our city.
No, I totally agree. I just want to make sure that we're just not, as it was stated, only for 1 year. So, okay. Council?
Are
questions?
you getting commitments from other cities?
So we've started the conversation with other cities. We invited all of the law enforcement and city managers to the roundtable that Nicole was at in December, and we intend to reach out to them. Other cities are also on a tight budget, and they're not receiving opioid settlement funds. The only recipients of opioid settlement funds are the county and Coos Bay City. So we don't expect the cities to be major contributors. We do have a couple of foundations and other groups that we have indicated interest. And we're also advocating for some state level funding. There's conversations happening right now in legislative processes to hopefully identify some state level funds in the future.
So it might be worth double checking. I'm reading here it was cities with a population over 10,000, and North Bend broke 10,000 in their last census.
So it was at the point of the settlement date, and I think it was settled in 2019.
Yeah.
1 year too early.
It was just, they just missed it.
And I think this is one of those instances where we are part of the community and helping the whole community, and you know, that's something that we've always wanted to do. So anyway, working together. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Council, how would you like to proceed?
Move that we adopt Resolution 2408 allocating the city's opioid settlement funds in support of the sobering center.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution 2408. Any other discussion, comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I agree. I think this is a nice tool, not just to relieve the pressure from the police departments, but the hospital too, which allows them to focus more on what they need to be focusing on. And it is one small piece of a pretty complicated issue.
I agree. All right. That being the case, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, consideration of appointments to the Budget Committee. Where are we at? How are we doing this?
Gosh, sorry. So we have two openings on the Budget Committee. We actually did 2 rounds of advertisement to ask folks in the community who wish to put their application in for the Budget Committee. The 2 positions who were up for, with expired terms, sorry, both elected to apply to be reappointed. Their terms were expired at the end of December. Recently, one of those individuals pulled their application. The council met earlier with the remaining applicant, just as a normal process of interviews, and that individual is still interested. There is the possibility, and I guess we would take some feedback, but the goal of the Budget Committee is to have a like number of citizens to council members. So we have a 7-member city council. We'd like to add a 7-member citizen panel. It isn't necessarily a requirement to have that 14 in full. We can certainly go advertise back out. The council can also appoint an individual to fill that space that is within your purview as well. We are rapidly approaching the budget, so having some direction and the appropriate number sitting at the table before we start that process. We do like to, for the Budget Committee, we do an onboarding of sorts, and so that new individual can come in and kind of learn. So when they hit the table the first time, they're of equal footing or as close to as possible as the rest of the members of the Budget Committee. So that does shorten our time frame a bit if we want to get somebody in and give them a run through of the budget. So,
All right, so we have one to be appointed this evening if we'd like, and then we can have the council make recommended appointments at their next meeting and appoint. Will that work?
yes, that would work. We can definitely put that on the agenda for your March.
So we need a
6th.
motion to approve the Rick as a Budget Committee member, is that correct? Unless we're going to do a vote, but there's, okay. Can I get a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Rick Rayfield to the Budget Committee for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2026. And then, am I appropriate in saying, and then we will appoint the final position at our next meeting?
Right.
next council meeting.
And the council itself can bring recommendations, and we'll go through that process.
Second.
It's been moved and second to appoint Rick Renfield as a library member, Budget Committee member, library, sorry. And then we'll go ahead and appoint someone at our following meeting by recommendation from the council. Any other comments, discussions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, last item on the agenda, discussion regarding ongoing code enforcement issues at 1088 Newmark Avenue. Nicole.
Thank you. As you may recall, for the last several years, city staff has been working with the property owner of 1088 Newmark Avenue in an effort to move the property back into use. Unfortunately, we've not been too successful. Currently, the property owner has recently pulled a permit which they believe will allow them to complete some repair work to accommodate putting the building back into use. But given the length of time that city staff has been working through code enforcement issues, we felt that it was appropriate to bring this before the council and maybe for us to consider some alternatives.
This is the Gussie's building?
This is, yes.
Former Gussie's building.
What we all may remember as the Gussie's building, yes.
Well, I can tell you the way I feel. I think they're just kicking the can down the road, and we're going to keep dealing with this. This has not been very successful, and how many years have we been dealing with this? That's my opinion, but I don't know how the rest of the council feels. So do we have to, I mean, since they pulled the permit, where are we at on this? Can we just not accept it, or how does that work?
You can't, I mean, if they meet their code requirements on a permit, I can defer to engineering people, but you can't just pull their permit. But, I mean, you can take, I think what Nicole's referring at is take some additional action, maybe to help encourage them to.
Like, what kind of additional action are we talking about?
Well, I think we're talking about a nuisance abatement or dangerous building. It is classified as a dangerous building. It had the fire in there, and there's mold, there's all kinds of problems inside the building itself. I mean, anybody who goes by it, looks at it, there's fire debris outside in the back. I mean, it's not a pretty picture.
Can we put timelines?
Once again?
Can we put timelines?
Yeah, I think we can, certainly.
So what's the time frame now for the permit? How's this work?
Our building official is in the audience. I think she's probably best to answer some of these questions.
Amy? I guess you're up.
You knew this was coming.
Good evening, council. So actually, at the moment, we have not an issued permit. So the stipulations of their dangerous building and timelines are to pull a permit for repair, to repair the conditions of the dangerous order, which is what they are indicating they are wanting to do. We have been in touch within the last week with their design professional. So if the permit, once we get through plan review, if the permit is issued, the term of a permit is 180 days to complete that work. And we certainly would not entertain any extension requests on this permit if they did not, were not able to complete that permit and remove the dangerous conditions. Then we would proceed with a hearing for abatement conditions.
So they're, under the scenario, they would have to complete the whole permitting situation of this, whatever the criteria is to be compliant.
It depends. I haven't seen the entire scope of this permit application. My understanding from dealing with their representatives is that their first permit will be to abate the dangerous conditions, to make the property occupiable again, which will remove the dangerous posting, and then they intend to focus on one area of the building as a tenant improvement. They tell us that they have potential tenants interested in the building.
Okay, so, all right. So if they don't make this, don't meet that criteria, the non-dangerous aspects of the building, then they're in default.
Correct.
Am I correct?
Correct.
And then we can go forth after that if they
Correct.
don't do it.
We've been preparing this for some time. So we're close. I mean, we're ready to move to hearing, but we've made baby step progress. We've been in communication. Nate's been in communication with their attorney. And so we have seen a baby step in forward progress, but certainly we would not entertain a permit extension, and we would be prepared to go to hearing.
Well, I hope it happens. I have my doubts, but I hope it happens. Any other council comments on this?
My concern would be they're just doing a portion of the building, and my understanding is that it is pretty much throughout that building that we have a problem.
Correct.
And so we're not going to remedy the entire situation with this permit.
We have stipulated that the initial work must remove the dangerous condition, which applies to the entire building.
Okay.
So once they basically would start with a clean slate, we would remove the dangerous posting. That would then mean the building is safe to enter. Then they could do it tenant by tenant as they have a tenant interested. But they do have to deal with the dangerous conditions for the entire building.
To provide some clarity for the public, my understanding is that this building has deteriorated to the point the fire department will not enter. Was that correct?
That is correct. Both police and fire will not enter the building unless there's an immediate danger to life and health.
Just want folks to understand the severity of the building. That's why we're talking about this, not just because we want gussies.
I'm still really
think anybody
concerned
wants
with the building because we've been taking baby steps, and this has been problematic in a lot of ways for months.
Years.
Years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I just, again, hope that it happens. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, obviously, if it's to this point that our fire and our police won't even enter in. So hopefully they get it done. This would, if it's done properly, it will save the city money, and hopefully we'll make it a building that's going to be useful again. Thank you. Anyone?
Just my thought is, it may not be on our time frame and frustrating, but if they do complete this permit and they follow the terms of the permit, we should give them that opportunity, but that's my 2 cents.
No, I agree. Any other comments on this? Anyone? No? Okay. That's it. So now we're to public comments. So I just want to preface that we're going to have a public comments. How many people are going to make comments this evening? Can you just raise your hand? And is it going to all be on the Devereaux Center? Okay, well, no, I just need to know. I mean, it's fine. I just want to make sure that I allow enough time for everyone to speak. All right? So we'll just stick to the 3 minutes. I think we can make that time frame work. And so when you come out, just give your name and the town that you reside in. And I just want to make sure that members of the public shall confine themselves to questions or issues under discussion, shall not engage in personal attacks, shall not impugn the motives of any speaker, and shall at all times, while in this session, conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. No person shall make personal, impertinent, slanderous, or unauthorized remarks or become boisterous while addressing the council. And so this process allows you to come up and make a comment for 3 minutes. It does not give us a process to have a discussion. It's not just conducive for that. So I just want to let everyone know that I'm willing to carry this over, any discussion, any part of this discussion or any other discussion at the library tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I'll be there with the city manager. We'll just have a roundtable discussion on any issue you wish. I'm going to try to continue to do this every Wednesday after every council meeting to make sure everyone has the process to do this. I also understand that Adam wants to have a town hall meeting, which I think is great, to even carry the Devereaux Center discussion further. So with that being the case, I'm going to have Adam be the first one, even though he's first on the list. And I want to thank him for meeting with us today and taking the steps necessary to at least reach out and have a discussion. So I would advocate others to do the same. I mean, I try to make this be the case. My phone number is on the website. Call me. We'll meet and have coffee, or we'll meet and get together. And we were able to address some things. I don't think we resolved everything by any means, but at least we have a start and an understanding of where you're coming from and where we're at this time. So, Adam?
I was told I was going to get 5 minutes.
You'll get 5 minutes.
All
I
right.
apologize. You're right.
Boy. I like your new dialogue, by the way.
I thought there would be more testimony, but you're right.
Yeah,
You have 5 minutes. I want to make sure you have the time. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Good evening. I know we're tired. Everyone's been here a long, long time. I don't know how you guys do it. So bear with me. Today, I did meet with you guys this morning, and all emotions aside, the truth is nobody wants this. As a taxpayer, it's not like, hey, I can't wait to, have homeless issues and drug issues and mental issues and lazy people and hardworking people who have a hard time. It's not what we want, but we're forced with it. Learning so much, not just today, but through the last 15 days I've been door knocking and figuring everything out. This is really the governor's fault. And I mean, my goodness. And I think that we need to really turn everything around to the state capitol. I mean, I don't think you guys, you have followed the laws on transparency. If I was sitting in your seat, I would have done a lot differently. Having a business, I can snap a picture on Facebook and put it out in 5 seconds. I mean, our meeting night could have been like, Mayor, and clipped it in 5 seconds. I mean, I think you guys could work on that a little bit. But they did follow the law from what I've found. Let's see. The grant given, I have found there's a template for the grant, and it was given. It could have been spent so many different ways, I found out. It could have been given to low-income families to keep their houses. It could have been given to vets. It could have been given to all kinds of stuff. And the previous city manager, I have learned, has pretty much correct me if I'm wrong, earmark this money when he applied for the grant for the Devereaux Center to be moved. So again, he probably thought it was a way to kill, 2 birds with 1 stone, that we'll have the state do this and we'll move it. However, he probably didn't think Inglewood was going to fight so much. So I'm sure everyone's kind of heard my reasons why it's a bad place. It's a flood zone. Even if you build it up 4.5 feet, it's still going to flood. And if that dike breaks, you're still going to have a big moat and a big castle. And, who has to carry the flood insurance? Devereaux Center, the city? I don't know. We didn't get to that part. So there's that. You mentioned that the library is in a flood zone, and it's very dangerous, and we need to move it. We need to spend $1 million or $5 million. I don't even know the number. But people visit the library. You're asking people to live at this new compound. I don't know. It's a little strange. So let's see here. A lot of pages. Oof, we better speed it up. All right, flood zone, blah, blah, blah. The new roof quote from Rich Rayburn on that Pro Diesel building, formerly Chambers, is $160,000. I don't see that in your guys' notes. Maybe it was in there, don't know. $100,000 moving expenses, I'll do it for $20,000. Quote me on that. So I'll move your Devereaux Center for 20 grand. Prevailing wage, these little stick houses can be built so many different ways. We've talked about that. The high school coming in, building houses, I think it's a great program. So wherever it moves, I think we need to go that route instead of prevailing wage, and we talked about that. Awesome. Let's see, what else? Let's see, with so many negatives, why move it to Inglewood? What's the grand plan here? You want to get rid of Gussie's? I mean, why? Are they up on their property taxes? I don't know yet, but I'll find out. So hopefully you never want the Blue Heron, or you might just vote on not opening my new permit. So let's see here. Today I asked the city attorney here why he's never done a public nuisance on the Devereaux Center. And he said, well, we do it. Let's see, quote me if I'm wrong. He says, we do it to folks that have too much trash, a car in their lawn, etc. So you did it on Gussie's, but you wouldn't do it on the Devereaux Center.
Well, I haven't done
You haven't. You haven't done Augustia's, but I just heard you talk about it. So it's on your mind. Maybe I lit the fire under you. I don't know. But it needs to be done. So talking to other people, he can't do it. It's the city that has to do it. You guys are his boss. So you say, sick him, and he does it. Why hasn't it been done? I don't know. You don't sick. No, you don't. You paid too much to sick. All right. So let's see here. The jail. How many people are repeat offenders for the jail? Do we have those stats? We do. You don't? Okay. Well, I asked you guys that 2 weeks ago at the North Bend Council, and someone says we don't have those stats. So, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Repeat offenders, how much we spending on that? How many times they keep going? I'd love to know. Let's see. Under the new grant rules, you are not allowed to enforce sobriety and treatment. They're voluntary. No identification or citizenship or gender, equal access for all. Child molesters, rapists. Shelter accommodates the pets and the belongings under this new thing. That's a low barrier shelter. You may not require them to abstain from drugs or alcohol. You're asking the Devereux Center to try to force those rules. Good luck. You're setting them up to fail, in my opinion. So, I mean, I couldn't force 300 people to not do things, and I'm a big dude. Let's see. I mean, there's so much here, and I have 14 seconds. So basically, I would just say that, again, there's been a lot of nasty things about the Devereux Center, and I think they're trying to do good. I think that, I think they need a new board. I think that 2 community members, a police officer, a council, maybe 2 people from the city and 2 people from the Devereux should meet up this new board. And I think that would really give a lot of faith into the community wherever this thing ends up. You did agree to a town hall, so thank you very much for that. That's going to be March 6th at the Egyptian at 6 o'clock. So a lot of information. Sorry I didn't get to it all, but thank you very much for having me up here. So
Our door's open, and we're glad to meet and have more discussion on this.
absolutely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. All right, Amy Manuel? I'm just going to go off the list to begin with, and then anyone that's not on the list, I'll be glad to call up. Go ahead. I know.
I got here late, so I couldn't
Okay,
sign up.
gotcha. All right, that's fine.
So I'm going for her.
Sure.
Perry Holman from Coos Bay.
Okay.
So Cobank Village has 19 beds. The point-in-time homeless count puts somewhere above 500 homeless. That's quite a few homeless. Way more than I see out in the woods whenever I'm out walking around. It means there's a lot of decent people that are homeless. And yet, Cobank Village decides to house people like Gene and Wendy Massey. Gene is an unregistered sex offender. They both have extraditable warrants out of Idaho. They're the worst of the worst people. Out of all the homeless, these 2 are some of the worst. Yet Cobank Village decides to house these people. And then they decide to say, well, we didn't know because these people lied to us. Which leads us to this grant with all of the stipulations that come with it and how you must basically let anybody in. But there's a loophole to it. If we have this many homeless here, and there's so many decent people that are homeless, then you can go through and help the people that want help and ignore the criminals. You're still technically following the rules, but you're just coincidentally helping the people that want help and not having to deal with the people who are going to be unregistered sex offenders and making the place horrible. There's ways around the stipulations if we have that many homeless, and those really need to be looked at. Everybody knows Devereux Center is a nightmare. It's ran horribly. Anything goes. And if the city's going to support it, which they are, they need to step it up and do things right.
Could you clarify for me real quick? I'd been under the understanding the sex offenders were removed. Are they there right now?
They were, after he
Okay.
was arrested twice. And we don't actually know how long they were there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Hicks? Is our Mike Hicks here? Okay, we can come back. Chris? Chep? Councilman?
Good evening, cowards. My name is Chris Castleman from Coos Bay, and I'm sorry to use the C word, but I think you're cowards. It's a fact. I mean, you could have done this a different way, the Devereaux Center thing. You could have had a public meeting, a town hall. You could have, oh, Joe's worried about the timer. It's not up there.
I am worrying about the timer. Hold on. We got to go.
You don't want me talking forever.
All right, you got,
there we go.
You got some extra time, Chris.
All right,
Go ahead.
should I start over?
You want?
Good evening,
Go ahead.
cowards. Anyways, you just at this very meeting talked about a ballot measure to ask the public if the library could move, you know, how much it would cost, whether the citizens would like to move it. That's a great idea. Why wasn't it done with the Devereaux Center? And I asked you, I don't know, a half hour ago, and you ignored me. You didn't want to answer the question because it was irrelevant.
You can show up tomorrow.
Or
at
it
the
was off
library
top.
and we'll
Hold on,
discuss it.
sir. You can hold public comment till the end, please.
You're right.
Yep. Anyways, yeah, you could have done it a different way. You talk about having public comment, and we can call you, and we can meet with you, and we can go to your town hall, but that's all after the fact. You already did it. You snuck it past all of the concerned citizens. You did a really good job. I applaud you. Congratulations. You made it happen without asking us a single question. And then you're going to applaud Adam, which I applaud Adam. He's a great guy. You're going to applaud him for putting together a town hall that you should have put together. You should have done that. Now you're going to, and you're going to attend, and you're going to make it look like you actually cared, but you don't, because you're a coward. You knew what you wanted to do, and you did it anyway, even though you knew there would be public backlash, and you didn't want to hear it. You don't want to hear what I'm saying right now, but you need to hear this. You need to hear from the public. That's part of doing your job, and sometimes it sucks because people don't agree with you, and you need to listen to them instead of playing with your phone. Anyways, in terms of the Devereaux Center, the problem is not the Devereaux Center. Well, that's actually a problem. But I've been there during the day, and it's actually a pretty cool place. They serve the people they are supposed to serve, and they do a good job. The problem is everyone they attract, especially at night. So even if you have this new Devereaux Center, and you have a really nice fence around it with barbed wire, and you let no one in and no one out, the problem is everyone that it attracts. The services they provide during the day will spill over into the night. Those people will be crossing Highway 101 to go to Fred Meyer and shoplift. They're going to be hiding under the bridge, taking baths in the slough. I don't know. Anyways, Tara Johnson was at the last work session, and she herself even mentioned with the new warming center, she's only allowed 10 people, 10 of her clients to go to the new warming center because she only believes 10 were able to follow the rules and be good players. That's crazy. 10 out of all of her clients are able to follow the rules, but you think this new center will be perfect and everyone will be able to play nice, but they just won't. So I'm sorry I had to call you cowards, but have some courage. Do something different. Ask the citizens, ask the public what they want to have done with their tax dollars and their town. You're welcome.
Sean? Sean Farrell? All right, Diana Francis?
Diana Francis, Coos Bay. I live in Inglewood, and I have an 11-year-old child. When I was a kid, I could ride my bike down all the way to the market. I never had anybody that I was afraid of. I knew my neighbors, and I can't do that here. I can't do that in Inglewood. I can't even let my child walk down to the little Inglewood market or ride his bike down there because I have a guy walking up and down the street yelling profanities. I can't do that. That's not right. I should be able to feel my child is safe. There's a lot of reasons why this center shouldn't be here. The flood. I'm part of the diking district. If that dike breaks, not when is it going to flood, or if it's going to flood, it's going to flood because we're not getting any money for repairing or fixing the dike. So is there anybody here that could let their kid do that? Walk to the store in Inglewood? Would you guys, anybody here let their kid walk down there? Would you be afraid? Raise your hand if you would not let your child walk down. Because why? Because of the rain? No, because you're afraid somebody's going to hurt your child, somebody's going to do something to your child, or they're going to be walking by somebody shooting up, or walking by the guy that's walking up and down my street that's obviously mental. It's not right. It isn't right. So we've got to do something about that. That center shouldn't be in our neighborhood. It just shouldn't be there. It should be somewhere where somebody can control what's going on. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. So this is a list. I've read the names on the list. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Al, come on up.
My name's Al Pettit. I'm a business owner here in Coos Bay, and first thing I'd like to do is address John and Mr. Frazier's comments earlier. I was a member of the 2017 Structure Committee for the county. A group of citizens were assigned to audit the operational expertise or efficiencies of the different departments over the county. And I can tell you with the utmost confidence that our commissioners and county employees have been dealing with a financial crisis year after year after year for the last 10 years. And I'll be the first one to vote yes for this jail initiative because we need it and because we have a problem. And speaking of that problem, I think we need to go a little easy on these folks because they're citizens here too. They see the problem. It's a nationwide problem. It's not specific to Coos Bay. It's everywhere. Anybody that's been up to Salem sees the transformation that's taken place up there, and it's ugly. So we're not going to fix the problem. I think the Devereaux Center's putting a Band-Aid on a severed leg. We're never going to get ahead of the problem. It took over 4 decades of bad decision-making up in Salem to get to this point. The amount of money that would cost to even address it at this stage is just daunting. So I don't think it's going to get fixed. So the question is, how do we address this problem within our community? And I think that's going to take some tough decision-making. Personally, I don't want people dying on my streets, as the gentleman did 2 years ago. The ambulance showed up 10 o'clock in the morning, hauled him off because he was sleeping in a sleeping bag across the street and he was dead. Well, he was sleeping, but he was dead. So I don't want that. Salem, I think this is their answer to not wanting to fund this or being incapable of funding this. They're simply letting people die in the streets. And if everybody's seen the numbers up in Portland, incredible numbers of people dying on the streets, and fentanyl's just made it worse. So I think in respects to our community, I guess the question is, do we want to try and play? And quite frankly, as I said, I'd rather have people die in the streets up in Salem than here. Carson City, Nevada doesn't have a homeless problem. They put them on a one-way bus to wherever they want to go, and they make it very clear if you return, you'll be arrested. I think that $1.7 million would buy a lot of bus tickets. And before anybody accuses me of being a heartless ass, in the last 3 weeks, my wife and I probably spent $400 buying shoes, socks, shirts, jackets, sleeping bags, sleeping pads, dog food, and food for humans who are just camped around my building. And I see them out there when the temperatures are plummeting down in the 40s and high 30s. And I know those people are going to freeze to death in a light shirt and a light pair of pants with no shoes or socks on. These people are out of their minds and they have no means of taking care of themselves. So I think it's going to take some tough decision making. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? Okay.
Name's Amy, live in Inglewood. I have a problem because things aren't regulated. We have so many homeless people and so much crime going on because we have all of this going on here. And places like the Devereaux, they attract more people. There have been multitudes of people that have said they've heard it from Brookings and Port Orford, go to Coos Bay. They'll help you. Go to Coos Bay. They'll give you stuff. Well, if everybody's hearing that and we're accumulating more and more homeless, we have no way to fix that. I'm on board with him. You know, what are we going to do when we start accumulating so many that there's nowhere to put them in the Devereaux? Are we going to build another one? Are we going to continue to collect homeless funds and continue to have people pop up dead in my slough like Leon Posey did? I mean, I wouldn't be very proud being the mayor of a town that had a man fall into my slough, a non-navigable waterway, and you're going to move a Devereaux Center with a bunch of drinking, drug use, all that stuff in that area, they're going to fall in that water. And when they do, and the sheriff can't get under that bridge to save them, nobody wants to rescue them or even tell the neighborhood they're there, what's going to happen when they get stuck in my hundreds of thousands of pounds pressure tide gate, get chopped in half, and one of the neighborhood kids find them? Are you going to care then? Because nobody cared on December 19th when we found that man laying down in the water at the base of a deck. He'd been floating there like garbage. And our county and city officers knew he was there. Not one person was looking for him. And you guys want to put more people in danger. I'm really, really angry with you guys for doing that. I was a rescue diver for years. You do not. It doesn't matter who they are. Leave them in the water rotting like garbage. And you want to invite more homeless here. This needs to stop.
All right. Any more comments by anybody? Okay, no more public comments. Again, if you would like to carry this conversation on, anyone? Oh, sorry, come on up.
James Johnson, Coos Bay. We've talked before, Mr. Benetti, in front of your council. Yes, we have.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the front of the world paper because you guys didn't like my comments. Okay, I'm going to say this. Like this lady said, her 11-year-old child doesn't have the freedom you and I did when we were kids. Okay? Instead, she's got to worry about somebody grabbing her child or hurting her child. And you guys are going to be the landlords of this place, correct? So liability comes into effect. Something happens to a little child or an elderly lady, and there's a lawsuit. Now how much is the taxpayers paying? You guys want to bring this here for why? Whose favor are you doing? These people do not belong on the public streets. They do not want to be on the public streets. They don't even know where they're at on a public street. They're out of their mind. Yes, they need help. But your constituents in this town need help by keeping them safe. This town is our home, not these drug addicts that are coming from other towns. They do not belong here. The fact that you do not ask for ID from anybody out there on the street is wrong. I have to have ID. Ask the chief. He's going to stop me. He's going to say, where's your ID? And I better have it. You better have it, even though you guys have coffee, okay? I do not want to pay any more taxes because somebody stupidly let somebody hurt someone's child and they filed a lawsuit. I don't want to pay for that because I'm here to tell you it shouldn't have been done to begin with. Correct? Just answer.
Are you done?
No.
Well, you will be in 55 seconds.
I want you to understand that there are people in this town that have no business being here. Everybody in this forum knows that. And you've allowed them to be here. Nobody is asking ID where they're coming from, get the hell back at where you came from. Nobody's doing that. Why? Coos Bay residents that are homeless, let's take care of them. Let's find them some help. But we do not need to bring in Salem. We do not need to bring in Portland, and they're being bussed in. We had this discussion before. You smile. You keep smiling over there. That's a very sinister smile you got, Joe. I'm tired of it.
If you want to
No,
discuss
I'm
it
not
further-
done. I'm not
if you
done.
want
I
to
got my,
discuss this
don't
further-
not, I'll stand here another 10 minutes because you're going to interrupt, okay? I'm telling you right now, this is wrong. And you're sitting over there smiling with a tip feather up your ass. You know better. So I'm going to tell you, no, I'm done.
No, we
But
are
I'm going to
done.
tell you right now.
We're done.
You will be held liable.
Carry this discussion
You, on a day when nobody can, everyone's at work.
This is done.
You do this when everybody's at work.
Sir.
This is your forum.
Fine. When would you like to do it?
When people like myself, who are not working daily.
Okay.
Yeah, so don't say 11 o'clock at the library.
Well, because that's the only time available. Pick
No,
a
it is
time.
not available.
Pick a time.
We're here right now.
We're not.
We did this once before,
We're
right?
done.
My wife and I, we packed this house once before, Joe. We'll do it again.
Mr. Johnson,
Your
time's
You
up.
are sorry.
Your time's up.
You know that?
Your time's up.
You are sorry.
Thank you. Okay, we're
Go to
done with the
hell.
public comments. All right, we will continue on. City Manager's report.
Sorriest piece of shit I've ever seen.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm not sure if it's appropriate to add any clarity to some of the things that we heard tonight, but I would like to say that the previous city manager did not apply for the grant. He did not make that decision. It was discussed when he was here, but the decisions were not made when he was here entirely. We've been working through those. So that's what I'd add. Because I have had some personal things happen over the weekend and kind of bleeding into today, I didn't prepare a report for tonight. So,
all right.
Thank you.
Council comments.
Nicole, could you maybe talk about the livability committee meeting?
Sure, I can share that. We, I think it's been a few meetings before there was a discussion about starting a livability committee. That is kind of morphed into what we initially were talking about, maybe a re-envisioning of the homeless work group, but kind of moving away from that kind of model. We are planning that first meeting for this Thursday at 11 o'clock, or sorry, noon, during the lunch hour, which will be a preliminary meeting to kind of discuss the formation of that committee, what the kind of topics we need to put on the initial agendas, and the way at which maybe people get appointed. I mean, all of those things to get that committee formed. So that first meeting will be Thursday at noon. We will also, much like all of the other meetings we do, it will be agenda produced. It'll have a Zoom link. It will sit on our website. It will go to YouTube, all of those things.
And we are not set up that we have to have that at noon. That's one of the discussion points we will have.
Yes.
We want the public to be able to participate in that. And so I think that's important to note.
Yes.
That it may not be noon, it may be later in the day so that people can attend.
And that was based on the timing of when the homeless work group had met, was the fourth Thursday at noon. So,
thank you.
yes.
All right, council comments. Carmen?
All right, you're gonna have me start off. All right, I'm gonna try to, can you all hear me?
Barely.
Yeah, it's not very loud.
Huh. Okay, not sure how to fix that. I guess I'll just talk as loud as I can. I just want to start off by addressing public comments and just my sentiment and where I'm coming from. I'm a longtime resident of Coos Bay. I grew up in Empire, right next to the Devereaux Center. I own a downtown business. I live downtown. I recreate in this area. My child goes to Lighthouse School. I drive by and through Inglewood on a regular basis. I have friends who live in that area, and I can tell you that I am concerned as well for the well-being of all of our city residents, and I am hoping to be a part of the solution. This is a tough position where we're at. It's been alluded to that there's been decisions that have gotten us to this point from, higher up the chain, state government, and, we're dealing with what we can. And then there's just environmental pressure. That we're in a tough situation where mental health and opioid addiction and use is soaring, and we're all having to deal with that. I see it every day. I'm right downtown, and I want to make sure that no one dies on the front door of my house or my business as well. And I see, I'm not of the camp that the Devereaux Center attracts more problems. I believe they solve more problems than they create. I think that they give services to people who are in extreme need, and I'm grateful for the fact that we have people and organizations that are willing to help us as a community to work on the problem, to provide services, to try to get people maybe to the next step. And I would just like to be a part of that. I am listening to the community. I'm listening for any alternative solutions. I'm hoping that we can figure something out. But the way I see it, we need support, and we need legal presence. And I think that leads me into my next part, which is to support the public safety measure that will be coming up. I think it's imperative. We need to be able to give our law enforcement the ability to do something. And I just want to reiterate that we're all trying here, and I realize that everybody is coming at this seeing different parts of the problem. Some of it, it's social order. Some of it is health and safety. Some of it is, some people look at it from, an equity forum. And I'm kind of trying to just pull in all of this at the same time and find what seems to meet the mark on many levels. And I see this as being a way we can support. We can give people a place to be, so they don't have to be on the front doorsteps of our downtown businesses, and they can get some additional aid. I look forward to the town hall. I sure hope I can make it. At the moment, I believe I can. And I'm gonna hand it off from here. I just wanna say thank you all for coming and sharing your respectful comments. I'm a little bit disappointed in some of the decorum that happened here today. We are all adults. You can speak to us just like adults. We are rational and respectful people, and we expect the same. And that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, thanks, Carmen. Sarah?
I really appreciate Councilor Matthews' comments, and I have nothing to add.
Okay, thanks. Drew?
I'm going to just touch on a couple things. Like Adam noted, a lot of the problems we see throughout the state have been pushed downward. That's why I've done a chunk of the work I've done at the state level. And we know they know what they're doing, because in this last legislative session, there was a bill that provided money for communities to pay for lawsuits resulting from the mentally ill on their streets. So, poor management of the state hospital by the Oregon Health Authority, consequence of the legislature, they know what they're doing, and we can see it pretty clearly. To start to work more towards that, and given that there's some eyes on this now. I am happy to work with different groups to show you how to engage with the state, show you where to poke, where to prod, where to cause problems so that we can see some change. Perfectly happy to do that, would love to do that because I don't see it changing otherwise. That's part of why I've started causing the problems at the state that I do. Received a letter from a constituent. I'm going to need to get their email address so that I can send a response. Covered a lot of the questions that have come up tonight, a lot of the statements that have come up tonight, and I can turn it into something that I can put out to the public. Last thing I want to address a little bit of, one of the things that was mentioned in the letter and one of the things that has come up tonight a few times is the duration of problems, these being the consequences rolled out over the years, over the decades, the decisions that led to this. And I'll preface this, in Coos County, I am still usually the youngest person at a table, but I'm 38, I'm not young anymore. These problems, when somebody tells me, well, we've been ignoring it for 30 years, I was 8. And there have always been parts in town throughout my entire life that I did not go to because of what has occurred there. That is not a problem that I want to pass on to the people who are actually still young. I don't want him to inherit the mess, almost said something else, that I inherited. When I was in the Navy, I was looking at a documentary one day, and Coos County was named one of the top 3 per capita meth producers in the nation. I don't want to still see that. So I'm not happy with the things that are happening either. We're managing change as we can. We're trying to manage damages, but to make real change, I agree. We're going to have to do things to the state. And if you want to talk about how to do that, I am happy to do that because I think they need it. That's it.
Stephanie.
Well, I want to say, first of all, that I appreciate the folks that have taken the time to come out today, that have reached out, that have done a lot of work over the course of the last couple weeks. But I do have a few things that I want to address, so I'm going to take a moment. I've been around here all of my life, and I know most of you probably think I'm just in my mid-30s, but it's been a lot longer. I used to deliver papers when I was 7.5 because my dad felt that it was important for us to learn a good work ethic, and if we were busy doing something productive, then we wouldn't be doing something that we weren't supposed to be doing. And so at the ripe old age of 7.5, I was delivering newspapers from about Market Street. I think I picked my newspapers up at the back of the World newspaper, and I delivered down 101 all the way to Porter's and then came back up 2nd Street. Finished by the old J.C. Penney Annex, which is now Al's place, and took my shoes off to walk through the puddle because I didn't want to get my shoes wet. And my mom was absolutely terrified to have me out there on my own delivering newspapers, and I did that for several years until I was in middle school. She would actually leave work. She worked at Bay Clinic, and she would leave work and, unbeknownst to me, would drive to find me because she was afraid. And I'll tell you, I did see things at 8 years old that an 8-year-old shouldn't see. So it's nothing new. I chose, when my oldest is 32 and my youngest, I think I can never remember, is around 29, that I never even let them go out and play in my front yard if I wasn't outside with them, because times have changed. And I was in my mid-20s to mid-30s, and I wouldn't let my kids go out and play by themselves. I didn't let them go to the park and walk to the park like I did when I was a kid. So the times are different today than they were, and that's not due to the Nancy Devereaux Center. It's due to what we have in our community. not just our community, but all over the place. So I just wanted to make that distinction. And I did want to say a couple of other things, that this is not an easy job to do as a volunteer. We don't get paid any money to do that, and honestly, I wouldn't want any money, because then what I'm doing up here is a job that I think people have elected me to do. The city has been working for quite some time to find a location suitable that meets the city code and the needs of the center, has what we hope to have as the lowest impact so that the center can do its work. There are some problems that we have, and they've been identified tonight, with mental illness, generational poverty, generational drug use, that all feeds into some of the things that we see on the streets today. But we do have an ordinance of time, place, and manner, because we do have a Nancy Devereaux Center. And we do have the option of saying, you can't be here, but you can be here. We've looked and looked, trying to find a place that has the least amount of impact. But also, we want to make sure that we are working within the confines of the law that says, you know, you have to do these things. My kids have lived, I've lived downtown Empire the longest now. My kids have lived in East Side and Inglewood. So I've had family that I'm concerned about in all places of this community. And I remember after my daughter moved to Inglewood, her family, she said, "My gosh, Mom, you cannot believe what came out of the woods today. I had no idea that there were that many people living." And she abuts property that's not city property, but actually water board property or private property. So it's not, and that was years ago. Homelessness is a long-term problem that we have. But again, I really can appreciate what people are saying. It is kind of scary, but I am thankful that we do have the center, and we need to cut through a couple of things that are outside of our control, the laws and the mental health ability to get somebody into mental health, so that our law enforcement can do their job, and so that the Devereaux Center, which really does more than they tell people about, can do their job. And then hopefully, you know, we can get on the other side of this. And I know I took a long time to say that, all of these things. There's a lot more that I could say, but that's really all I have tonight. This is not an easy decision.
Troy?
I have nothing if you want to continue.
Thanks. So first of all, you know, it's really disappointing sitting here running this meeting and listening to derogatory remarks from individuals when we're trying to be respectful of your comments. You know, it's uncalled for. You know, I appreciate what Adam did. I would expect the others to do that. I've reached out and made those comments and those offers, and they've been declined because they just want to come up and complain. I don't mind hearing the complaints, but be part of the solution. Sit down with me and talk. We might not agree, but maybe we'll come to common ground. Adam and I today, we came up with a suggestion that might fit both needs. Will we come to resolve that? I don't think I'm going to change Adam's mind if, and I need to make this clear, if we are able to get the money for the Devereaux Center. It's not a done deal. We're in the process of trying to make it to happen. But whether it does or it doesn't, it was not for sure right now. We have some process to go through. But even if we decide that's the way to go, and we get the funding that's necessary, what's important that came about today, sitting down with Adam, and I'm going to keep using Adam, but there's others in the community I've talked to on a regular basis out in public. Rodney, he's at in many events I'm at and committees. Al's out on the committee or on the streets. These are individuals I've worked with. Tom Greaves, John Sweet, all of us interact and talk outside of this area and trying to come up with solutions. And I want that same thing with everybody. The thing is that what we got to keep in mind, if this is to happen, we sit down together and try to find the best solution. Will it be perfect? Absolutely not. There is not a perfect solution to this problem. And again, Al mentioned 4 decades, and so did Drew. This has been going on for a long period of time. We inherited this problem, and it continues to get worse. We have federal regulations we have to abide by, and state regulations we have to abide by. I don't like them, right, at all. You know, Senator Rubio on the show the other day said, when are we going to start taking care of our own? I agree. When are we going to start taking care of our own? I believe if we took some of the federal money and they put it in the right places for homelessness, for health care, for feeding the poor, that we wouldn't be in this situation. But we don't. And so we're stuck with it. Unfunded mandates are constantly coming down the pike. I think anyone that has served in this kind of capacity or any capacity understands that. We're in a bind because of it. We didn't choose it, right? And if we want to do something about it, let's change this and go make let's do a referendum for statewide. It's been a suggestion. Adam comes up with it. I guarantee you, you know, right now, what's on our books, if the Supreme Court overturns the decision by the Grants Pass, then we still have this in place. So let's get a referendum together and change it so that we don't have stuck with that. I'll stand behind it. I don't think there's a mayor in this state that would not support this. But to come up here and be disrespectful and derogatory because it makes you feel good, and what have you accomplished by doing that? What does anyone do? I don't mind hearing the comments and the complaints and people being upset, but that's not a way to do it. You know, an empire has been dealing with this, and unfortunately they've been dealing with it. And so now it's possibly over here, and we're looking at it because we think it might make it better. We don't know. But so we have a community that we have to try to take care of, different aspects of the community. So is one part of the community better than the other? I don't think so. It's a whole community that we're trying to help and fix. So I just hope you keep that in mind. And 11 o'clock tomorrow, yes, it's not the best time, but it's the only time I got. My other Wednesday was 6 o'clock, and I gave it to Adam to have a town hall meeting, all right? Because I think it's important. Now, I'm sure I'm going to go to the town hall meeting, and I'm just going to hear some more derogatory remarks, but I'll be there because I want to hear what I can maybe find something about. So I just hope that next time you come up here, have some respect for us. We have respect for you. That's the end of my comments. Good evening. Have a good night. Meeting adjourned.